downs for my kids, they needed my reassurance. They needed my hope. And if I became upset when they were little, and even to this day, they would spiral even further. You
Mm.
have to know your child and take the cues from the child. But
I can
there's
see how in those situations, because there's so many things that are kind of fragile inside in regards of when there's a change, things can really shift like a Jenga, right? If something goes out of order, the rest kind of falls. And so in that situation, I can see how having something you can rely on and almost predict.
Mhm.
So predictability and having that foundation of, hey, when things go a little wonky here because I'm dysregulated right now, I trust and rely that my mom will remain calm, that my mom will remain right here. She's not upset. I'm not making her up, right? So it's building that bridge of reassurance that even though I might not feel okay, it's going to be okay because I can rely on this and predict that it's going to be okay. And I'm not worried how mom will react or how.
Correct.
Um,
To a point, there's no question that there are times your child is going to see you upset. And I can tell you, so you do your best on that. David and I have several, they're not ironclad rules, but rules that we try to follow. One is that when we're upset or frightened, we do it alone or with each other. We try to do that. We never, I shouldn't say never, because we don't disagree in front of the children. We want to throttle each other at times. He's much slower than I am, and it drives me crazy. Why can't you make a decision? And he rightfully sees me as overly decisive and overly quick. But we both trust each other, lean on each other, love each other. We know that we're trying our best. It may not be what we would do, but we give each other the benefit of the doubt.
mhm,
And that's really my counsel to folks. I see so many parents, particularly of young kids, that are starting this journey that blame one another, that
mm,
accuse one another. You're not interested, um, that undermine one another. Well, your father said this, but we're not going to do that. And this, by the way, happens irrespective of mental health, right?
yeah.
There can be huge disagreements, as there can for all parents, but they're magnified in these cases about diagnoses, about therapy, about medications, about discipline. Is the child
Mm,
having a meltdown because it's tied to their neurodiversity, or are they having a meltdown because they didn't get the candy they wanted to eat, or
sure.
whatever it is?
Right, right.
Right? You have to navigate these minefields. But medications in particular cause huge problems and schisms between parents where one parent will want the child to take a medication and the other will say, I don't believe in meds. I don't think that
I can see that.
Johnny or Susie needs meds, or I don't want them to turn into a zombie or gain
Yeah.
weight or stop sleeping. And these are all true side effects and more. But what we parents have to remember, Lily, is that our children have inbuilt antenna from the time they're toddlers. They know when their parents aren't on the same page, right? And they will really be attuned to that. So give each other the benefit of the doubt.
I love that. We try to do that in my family where we always speak in my toddler's language. So I'll say, "Hey, Daddy, did you get the right?" So when it's in front of her, we don't do any adult conversations. We can do that on our time, but that way, because we know she's always listening. We always listen more, especially when someone's not talking to us, but we know they're talking about us. And so we'll use those situations of like, "Hey, I saw my daughter do this, and then she, and similarly, we try our best not to disagree or not, if I don't know, I'll try to go to my husband like, hey, well, did daddy say we can, let's decide together as a family and then try to have each other's back. Cause I think
Right.
we're better as a team, as a more stable unit. And when our daughter sees our relationship being healthy, she will have a healthy relationship with both of us. Um, Instead of because again they're just sponges and so they absorb it, whether it's the words used or because often in an argument there can be manipulation or the way you write. And so um, we try to avoid that, and we just do any conversations that wouldn't be child appropriate, um, just away from her, because I if she doesn't need to hear it, she doesn't need to hear it, kind of a thing. Um, but I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that will set them up, by the way, when they enter those minefields of teenage years. You want them to have that foundation.
Right, right. And I think, kids learn from us how to be human, right? They mimic us. And so they'll absorb as the sponges they are the environment that they're in, not just what we tell them, but whatever environment you put a sponge in, it's going to take all that water in, whether it's dirty water, clean water. And so kids just pick up, and then they
Correct.
try to play out those scenarios that they've seen before. And so having a healthy conversation at home with each other, with a spouse, it's such a big part of it, I think.
Yeah, I do want to stress that there will be many times of upset, of fear and anger. I mean, I myself have wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear many days. Um, I've looked at myself and said, why me? Why us?
Yeah.
You've got to go through that. But you turn it around and you climb out of the abyss by not only accepting, but embracing the fact that your life may not be as hoped for or imagined or dreamed for. A different life is still as fulfilling. In fact, it's even more fulfilling for me. Uh, I'm never going to be free to go travel extensively with my husband or retire in the sun or, do any of that stuff. That's okay. I've come to terms with it. And I love my life, but it's not an easy life. I get upset on social media a lot when I see this, what people call toxic positivity,
Mm,
because it's meaningless. If you don't go through it, you don't live it, you don't know how heartbreaking and terrible it is. But there's so much wonderful things at the same time.
right. I love how the mindset and the mind shift can really free you
Correct.
and really set you on the right path. Jan, I have to wrap this up, and this was so absolutely lovely. You're just so charming, and your positivity and what you talked about, the grit and the resilience that you want to teach the kids, you want to teach your other kids and other parents, but you model it from your point of view, because this is what you had to do. I think is so just kind and generous, and I think so many parents are lucky, because you're the support group. You're speaking out about it. You're writing the books and the resources and the articles where parents can go and find that support when they're feeling really in a dark place. And so you're talking about these support groups. You are that support group for people in those situations. And just thank you for what you're doing. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Well, I'm
Where
delighted. Yes,
where can people find you? Where can they get the book?
absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. Thank you, Lily. But let me
Yes,
just before I do that,
yeah,
let you know what both my kids are doing now and how they're doing.
yeah.
They're grown, as I've said. Andrew has a wonderful full-time job at one of Canada's major telecom companies, Rogers Communications. He gets himself to and from work every day, and he has this fantastic, infectious charm. We were on the subway going down to a Blue Jays, the hapless Blue Jays baseball game the other night, and sitting across from us on the subway was a young man wearing a Blue Jays cap. So Andrew has no filter. He started chatting with him. The next thing I knew, half the subway car had joined in. Andrew just has that effect on people.
Mm,
And Ainsley's going through a really rough time now with her anxiety and with her executive function challenges of getting things done. But she is the most gifted child and youth counselor working with young neurodivergent, young autistic children. And I know that it's her own lived experiences and her deep intrinsic knowledge of Andrew that have made her such a gifted resource. What's amazing and breathtaking and heroic about them is that they know their lives are going to be endless roller coasters, but they embrace life and they have this grit, determination, and perseverance. And I'm in awe of each of them. They really are my heroes. So that's my segue into where you can find me. So I do have a website at janstewartauthor.com. And on the website, you can sign up for my quarterly newsletter where I give more insights and tips. That's number one. I post, as you know, Lily, every day about neurodiversity on both Instagram and Facebook at Jan Stewart Author. And my book, Hold On Tight, A Parent's Journey Raising Children with Mental Illness, I'm thrilled it's won the Mom's Choice Award. And it is widely available, Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and Canada Indigo, anywhere you want to go. And I'd love to hear from you after you read it to see if it resonates or if you have any questions. And feel free to reach out for anything I can do. This is what I love, and I hope that I have given you the inspiration and empowerment to persevere, to have hope, and to hold on tight.
You're so sweet, Jan. Thank you so much. And I'll include that link and all of the stuff you sent over in the description. So if anyone's looking, they'll be able to find it and then get the stuff and get in contact with you. Jan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lily. It's great to have been here.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to reading your book.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, Jan.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to talk to her. I mean, I'm really excited to read the book. I want to learn more. And I love that you can see the grit and resilience in Jan, right? And then you can see it, and then hearing the stories about the kids. Gosh, I love that so much. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.